Hey guys, Dustin Wint.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, and you're listening to Bat Force Radio, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to Bat Force Radio. We have got Bat Force Tom in California.
Hey.
We've got Grandpa Batman in Texas.
Howdy.
And I'm Robin Cross in Canada. And this week's guest is an artist and cover artist around the DC universe, including a Kid Flash story in Superboy Man of Tomorrow #2 and a soon-to-be-announced new DC project that we don't know about yet. He also recently illustrated Batman Fighting the Frozen, the comic book that came along with the McFarlane Toys Page Puncher figure line, and that's his work in that is excellent. If you haven't seen it, go pick up one of those figures, whatever you got to do to see that. We welcome to the show for the first time, Travis Mercer.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you for doing it. Sorry, it took us a while we had a false start, and then we finally got this plan, so thank you for sticking around to do it.
Of course. No, it was definitely worth it. I was telling Robin that it feels like you're not a real DC artist until you come on to Bat Force. That's how you know that you're doing pretty good. You've got a pretty good track record of talent.
We wish that were that carried as much weight as you let on, but we appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah. You're welcome back anytime.
Yeah,
especially talking like that.
Yeah.
I think you're amongst greats, kind of like Joey Lawrence, a couple others. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, as long as I get some impressions, it's going to be a victory. Like, that's all I need.
Well, I'm surprised you had time to do this, Travis. We had another idea. I see the figure back there on the shelf, but all right, we'll talk about that.
So just real quick for anyone that doesn't know Travis's work yet. So this is we're going to talk about some other stuff first, but this is the Page Puncher figure that I mentioned in the start. So that's what you're looking for in the stores if you want to read this comic, see his work. But then this one in particular, this is one that Travis did a remark on the cover for me, and look at that.
Oh, that is gorgeous.
If you get the chance to see Travis at a convention, go hit him up, get remarks, commissions, whatever, because look at that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, man. That's a great piece.
Thank you.
But if you've heard the show before, we usually like to start with the origin story. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start with yours. So what was that first thing that made you want to be an artist? What did you see that said, I want to do that?
I mean, I was one of the 90s kids that found comics very early, too early to truly pinpoint. I do remember, I think my first comic was A Lonely Place of Dying from my older brother. I think he got a graphic novel from my grandma, and it was Robin on the cover, with the big symbol behind him kind of flying in. And I remember that. So I remember Nightwing before most people, especially my age. I'm 37, so puts me in that range of like when he started to get big. And that was actually one of my first comics that I followed monthly. But I remember that, and Batman the Animated Series, and that kind of got me hooked. I was always a Bat kid. Even with the Marvel craze with Jim Lee's X-Men and all of that, I was there for it, for Todd's Spider-Man. But I was always a Batman kid.
I do appreciate that. That was a fun run I did on Peter Spiderman. That was a good one.
So what did you start doing once you started trying to recreate those comics yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how we all start. I would imagine so. But yeah, it was like I said, the one that really kind of hooked me into comics, that kind of that first girl that stole your heart and kept it, was the '95 Nightwing series from
Mhm.
Scott McDaniel and Chuck Dixon. I actually have an original page from that run right here.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So that's a Scott McDaniel. And I don't know what it was about those two together. I was probably around 10, but it hooked me. And I tried to recreate some of those poses. And we remember Scott McDaniel's the multi-figure Nightwing through the pages, and you could just pick a few of them to try to draw, and just those bold blacks. And I don't know, it stuck with me and hooked me, and I've been reading comics ever since.
Have you ever met Scott?
Only online. Yeah, early on in my career, when I started to really think about doing this as a job and a living, I reached out to him, and he actually gave me some very real and probably some of the best advice that I ever got. And just to paraphrase it, and for any other artists who are listening, I'll kind of share it in my own words, that he just said, if you could imagine yourself doing anything else, do that. Only do this if this is the only thing you want to do. There's no insurance, there's no stability, there's just a lot of things going against it. So you only do this job if this is who you are. If the money stuff and all of that, you just kind of put it aside, and it's like, no, I do this because I am a comic artist. That's just who I am. I can't do anything else. And that stuck with me. And I do tell that to people who are really interested in getting into the industry, because it gives them that reality of, be prepared. This is tough. This is a tough life. Even when you make it, it's tough.
And it is tough to, quote, make it, because it's not enough just to be good. You need a combination of good and lucky, because there are a lot of great artists out there that don't get a foot in the door.
Absolutely. I think maybe one of Sean Murphy's first episodes, I think it was on your guys's podcast, where he was talking about his cards, the card analogy. You got to have, you're playing poker, and you got to put the highest cards. You got to give yourself the highest cards. And sometimes it comes down to luck. But, one card that you can always, increase is your talent, your skill set. You can always heighten that, where you live, things like that, networking, going to conventions and things like that. You just got to keep giving yourself the best odds. But just like poker, sometimes it comes down to luck.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you got to be at the table to be lucky, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to ante up.
So where did your first, we'll call it luck, come? What was that first foot in the door that you were able to get?
Well, I had done some work for smaller publishers. I did a Moonstone comic of Airboy that never came out. I did 2 issues, and they ended up scrapping it. One of those things where it was like, it happens in comics, lesson learned. I think we all have that rite of passage, the bridge burning kind of situation. But then after that, I landed a gig at Mad Cave Studios, who was still new at the time. I know they've increased their output quite a bit and have some good stuff coming out, but this was in the early times of them. And I did a book called RV9, and it was more of a sci-fi spy thriller. And I was, at the same time, I was being mentored by Brett Booth.
Oh, cool.
So I had gotten close to him through Twitter, and I was getting these gigs, and I was sending my stuff to him, and he would send it back with notes. And he really just is the sweetest guy, and took the time. We developed a good relationship. Some of my other art, this is all Brett's. I had him draw a Green Arrow for me, who he hates, because he hates drawing archers. So that one's right. That one's right in center. I always think of that one. So,
That's awesome.
so we had a good relationship, and then because of Brett, he got me on Scott Liddell's radar, who is doing Red Hood and the Outlaw at the time. So it was right before COVID, and he needed a fill-in for one of his issues, and not a full fill-in. It was just like 2 parts of a story, and he wanted me to do the Artemis part. So that was kind of my first really lucky break. Was I got my foot into the door, and that was right when Ben Abernathy took over as group editor for Batman. So it was right along that big kind of change. So I got my first big gig, my first DC thing, and then a month after was the shutdown. So that was super hard. That was super hard on me. It was tough.
It sounds like such a typical story for anyone. You started getting the ball rolling, and of course something one last thing to derail you.
And it wasn't just COVID too. That's when Diamond or when DC pulled out of Diamond, so they were starting to just restructure everything from top to bottom. So it was always like, we don't have anything, we're super booked. They were downsizing all the books, and they were pretty much only keeping the top tier people going on monthlies while they figured out what to do. So it took about 1.5 years to get another DC thing, but what I got was actually pretty cool. And it was in the holiday special a couple years ago, and it was a Legion of Superheroes story. So I got to redesign Polar Boy. This is during like the Bendis run. So I got to make him look like he fit into more of that version of it. So I got to do some of that, which was really cool, because you don't usually get to do stuff like that in like holiday issues. There's no usual no, we want you to redesign a character. It's more of, make Superman delivering presents or something like that. So it was actually really cool.
They specifically told you, we want you to redesign his look. Oh, wow. Yep. How long did it take to kind of come up with that idea? And
I would say a couple days. It took me a couple tries.
Yeah.
To do it. Yeah, there it is. My influence was at the time I was looking at a lot of like what was going on in Bendis's run, and he was supposed to be like a younger kind of kid. And I actually took a lot of like K-pop references. So what was going on with those like boy bands, the K-pop bands, and I took a lot of that fashion because it seems futuristic anyway. And then I put it into kind of the same color scheme that he had traditionally.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
That's super rad.
Yeah. It was an awesome opportunity. And then right from that short story, it seems like I've been working ever since on something.
What's that like whenever, you get, an opportunity, like you said, your first opportunity was just a couple of pages, and then you get the holiday story. What's that like to finally see your work on the stands? I mean, to walk into a store and be like, this is mine.
It's pretty surreal. I would say when I get my comps, I typically don't like to look at my own stuff because I'm way too critical. Yeah. So I usually just put it to the side. It's when I'm invited by my like local shop to do signings and stuff, and I see it in other people's hands. I think that's when it hits for me. Not so much when I see it, because I'm always going to have a certain perception of my stuff because I'm only going to see the flaws. Like, I wish I could change that. Even when Robin just put that image up, I was just like, I would do something so different now. Because my style has changed a little bit too. It's evolved, so forth. But yeah, when I see somebody have that book in their hands and they come up to me and when it's signed, that's when I think I get that feeling of like, holy shit, like that I did that. Like, I did that with other people. Like I brought books for other people to sign. It's crazy to experience it from the other side of the table.
That's got to be a really good feeling.
Yeah, it is. I don't know if there's anything like it. And that's how I know that I think I'm supposed to be doing this, is because I can't imagine anything better.
Right. Now, where is your local shop?
So Hall of Justice is my local shop. It's in Parker, Colorado. It's about a 20-minute drive from me. I live in Denver.
Oh, okay.
And it's a fantastic shop. If anybody's ever just happens to be in Colorado, you should check it out. It's one of those shops. It's newly renovated. It's got 2 stories. So when they do guest signings, then they do their own little free comic book day or a mini con. They put all of us who live in Colorado up on the top floor, which is carpeted. It's super nice. It's a big wide open space. And then the entire bottom section is, brand new shelves, glass cases, just full of all the goodies. So it kind of keeps us out of the products way. So everybody just goes upstairs and gets their book signs and they can go back down. And it's fantastic. It's probably the best store I've ever seen.
Cool.
No, I've never seen yours, Robin, so please don't take offense.
He has 2
I
stories.
will be in Toronto, so I'm gonna have to check it out.
I have only ever visited Colorado while playing Horizon Zero Dawn. That's the closest I've come to being in Colorado. So, but yeah, it sounds like a great shop, and then it has a great name too.
Oh, absolutely. That's funny you mentioned that. Where you start in Red Rocks, that is an amphitheater. Very popular here, and like the stadium is the Mile High Stadium. Like all of that stuff is super accurate.
Yeah.
What would you say so far out of the stuff that you've worked on? I know you're super critical, but would you say there's like an issue or a particular page or even like a panel where you're like, oh, I nailed it finally?
Yeah. Luckily, it was one of the ones that I got approved for when I first showed my preview, and it's for this book. And maybe it's because it's Batman, whether it's an Elseworld story or like a fun time traveling story like this. I think I just put everything that I had, because who knows when I can do Batman again. You get the chance to do Batman, you have to put everything you had, and that's exactly what I did. And there's a page where it's his reveal page, and Robin has a torch, and he's kind of walking through a dark cave, and he lights Batman just sitting in a throne, because it was very Conan the Barbarian, but I wanted it darker. Like I wanted that Conan in the throne pose, but also Batman the Animated Series when he's, being super moody and broody and sitting in that, in that chair in the dark. I wanted it to just be those 2 things mixed. So yeah, there's the Andrew Dahlhaus did the colors, fantastic job. But I also sent over my inks as well too.
Very cool. Yeah, it's one of the last things you posted on your Instagram.
Yeah,
So.
I have it pinned because I think that's probably the thing that I'm the most proud of, as well as in my Superboy backup story, the Kid Flash one. I did a double page spread of another character that I got to design, which was the Sinestro Corps or Parallax infused Reverse Flash. Why that's never been done before, I have no idea. It wasn't a complicated redesign or anything, but I think it was still super fun to do.
Super evil looking.
Yeah. He still has a little bit of that Reverse Flash in him, but like, you can definitely see the Sinestro Corps influence. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
So that was super fun. And my first time doing like the speedsters at all. So I don't know. I think they turned out pretty well.
For sure.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So that the freeze suit is that the same issue?
Yeah, so the fighting the Frozen, yeah, so it's a time traveling story. So we've got a steampunk 1800s kind of look for Mr. Freeze.
Dude.
And then he travels back into this, this barbarian time period. So you've got 2 very different time periods, even though they're not the presents colliding, which is very fun.
Yeah, what is it? 1876
Yes.
in Gotham, I think the story starts in, and then he gets launched back to almost prehistoric.
Yes.
Period.
So in this one issue, you essentially redesigned Batman and Mr. Freeze, and you've already got 2 awesome action figures out of that.
Well, I would love to take credit for the design. Todd actually sent 3D renderings of what the figures were already going to look like.
Oh, no way.
So I had like the visual of them, and then was like, okay, make the story with them.
Okay.
And I think it was easier that way for me, because I had the look of what they wanted, and to me it felt like maybe you guys remember the 90s when the Ninja Turtles toys were the biggest things in the world. And you remember like they went through those phases, and towards the end of the Ninja Turtles fandom, they got pretty crazy with their toys, where like they were going into space and they all had spacesuits, or they were playing sports.
Dude.
They all had a certain sports. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I still have my Leo in
Yes.
his football uniform
Yes.
and pads. I still have that.
It was all so shameless.
And I'm sure there was a prehistoric one where they were all very dinosaur influenced. So I took that idea of like, okay, they're just giving me fun toys to play with. And that's what I did with the story. The script was very general. I mean, if you look through the book, the dialogue is very minimal. So it really just allowed me to just tell the story with the pictures.
Yeah.
Which was a challenge, but a good challenge, because it was up to me to just show everybody as if you were playing with the toys. This is the scenario. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, and
Great idea.
So the story didn't, the story was what it was, but it felt like that imagination just kicking in, like where it's like, oh, they're time traveling. Why? It doesn't matter. It just is. You know what I mean? Like, just go with it. Just we're playing. Shut up. Keep playing with your figure.
And the visuals are interesting enough that you don't need to flood it with a lot of why use lot word when few word do trick.
Absolutely.
I love how you lead the eye with the panel work, and then
thank you,
the big person in the foreground. You've done that in several panels. I love that.
Yeah,
I love how the panels, it's not your just traditional 16 block or whatever, but like that right there. I love that. That's so cool.
I was always taught, like I mentioned, learning from Brett Booth and just talking to a lot of the greats. To me, it was always a matter of tell the story with the page, but make sure that you've got one or two panels that's going to sell the page. Give them something splashy on every page if you can, even if it's just somebody talking. You can still make that interesting. This one,
like that.
There are people standing around. So what did I do? I broke panel where they're cutting into the top one. They've got a very dynamic pose because it's an upshot. It's just trying to make it more interesting to look at.
Yeah. This is the kind of stuff like this is so cool looking, and like to I like an untrained eye like myself, I'm not an artist. I look at that and I'm like, that looks so fucking badass. Why? And you break it down that way, it makes sense. And now I know, like when my son asks me, Daddy, can you draw me this? And I do it, and he goes, Daddy, it's just not working. It's just I don't feel it. And I go, I don't know what you want, buddy. And now I know, oh, this is what he means. Like, dazzle me,
How many things in daily life does Robbie tell you this just isn't working?
Just isn't working. To be fair, I also tell myself that when I'm drawing those pages, this just isn't working. I'll scrap it.
It sounds like everyone does that.
We are our worst critics, and I know some of us are harder on each other than others. I'm brutal, just absolutely brutal.
It sounds like it's like a curse in that, like you're really good because you're really critical.
Yeah.
And you're really critical because you want to be really good. So it's like this snake eating its tail. But
absolutely.
I think it's a good for us, maybe not for your stress levels, but it's a good thing for fans to have artists that are just continuously pissing themselves off with what they do. And have you ever we've talked to a couple of guys. They get through like 90% of a page and they're like, I'm starting this all over again.
It happens at least once an issue, if not twice.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
And are you doing this traditional style or digital?
Well, I'm doing most of the work digital.
Okay.
But I was trained as a traditional artist.
Okay.
So when I was learning, from Brett and some other guys, they're all pencilers. So that was my start, and my Polar Boy was in pencils. But I switched to digital just because I've been, moving around a lot and trying to just get a lot of some of the cool things about the digital is the textures, and that's what I wanted to get into. And if you saw the black and whites of those pages, you could see that there's a lot of grayscale in there. There's a lot of texturing, which is really, yes, on like Mr. Freeze, you can see that kind of rusty. You can when you look at it, you can kind of feel what that texture is on that metal. It's not just a black circle with the white, and I'm gonna let the colorist figure all that. I like to have a little bit more control. Even the glowing effect on the gun was me. It wasn't the colorist. So I try to do as much work as possible. And I think some colorists like that. Andrew seems to really love it. I'm sure some other colorists don't like that because it limits them. But it's just the way that I'm going to do it because I'm in control of the lighting and setting the mood. And that's not something that I particularly thought of when I was just doing pencils or pencils and inks. It wasn't until I started playing with that in the digital format where I could do a lot of grayscales that I started to think about lighting and mood and how important that is, especially in a Batman story.
So
And that's an important dynamic of a penciler working with a colorist and finding the right one. That's why guys will stick with with pairings. You always see almost everything Jason Fabek draws is colored by Brad Anderson. Almost everything Clay Mann draws is colored by Tomeo Mori.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I found mine in Andrew, which is also a coincidence because Andrew Dollhouse is also Brett Booth's colorist, but that's not how we got together. Like my editor had no idea of my connection with Brett. He was like, "I want to put you with Andrew Dollhouse," and I just happened to say like, "I know him." So it was just one of those things where it was like, "Oh, small world." So
when you submit like a page to your colorist, do you have a conversation with them about where you see certain lighting and glowing and stuff like that, or you just trust them?
It's usually that's why I do so much on my pages is because it's right there, so they know. And if Andrew does have a question, we have a good enough relationship now where it's he can just text me, and we can and we'll text back and forth. But before that, I had different colorists, and I just kind of had to be like, okay, here it is, and I'll see the final product. And in some ways that's good because you disconnect from it and you're not being a diva about it, which feels great. But I think I like having a little bit of that security blanket and that input better because there's even been things where Andrew has sent a page and been like, "Hey, I zoomed in on this for a second. Did you mean to do this?" And I would have been like, "Oh shit, no, I can't believe. Let me fix that. Just right as we're texting, let me fix it and send you over a new file." And we've done stuff like that all the time, where a line must have got erased or something, or something that I didn't notice. So that kind of stuff comes with that artist colorist bond, you know what I mean, is when you can do stuff like that. So I think that's why when you find a colorist, you stick with them because you start to just develop that relationship, and and they go faster too. Once they know your style, they can just start going fast.
Cool.
Now, because I don't multitask well, I'm hoping that I didn't miss you explaining this while I was looking for a picture. How did this McFarlane Toys project come across your purview?
So it's in the editorial group of special projects. So the special projects are always the ones that deal with not just DC, but are partnering with another company. So this is with Todd McFarlane's toy lines, and they wanted to do this toy line and decided, hey, let's just put a comic with it because they had done some page punchers in the past. They did an Injustice I think, one, and an Aquaman one, and they seemed very successful, and they just want to keep going with it. So the editor approached me and said, "Hey, I think that you would be perfect for this. Do you want to draw Barbarian Batman?" And I'm pretty sure. I think we can cuss on here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I that was my response to my editor was, "Fuck yes, let's do it."
No
question. And I'm pretty sure I had the Conan soundtrack playing more on my Spotify, the month and a half I was working on this than anything else on my playlist.
So
It just sealed the deal. You know what I mean? When that music was playing, I would get into it.
So when you're drawing something like this, do you go full method and you start eating raw meat and just
what is best in life?
Yeah, just wearing loincloths and
break it into your neighbor's freezer.
I would like to say yes. Again, with the music, I definitely got into it. It is just like with most artists. If anybody ever found my phone, I would be so terrified, and not because of anything that you would think like, oh, what celebrities have on their phone. The reference photos that I take,
that's what I was going to ask,
is such blackmail gold for anybody who hates me.
You
because
got a loincloth, didn't you?
I was sitting in my chair, like doing that pose, had my phone. Yeah, you got to do it. You got to do it. It makes for better comics. I'm sacrificing my dignity for everybody else.
For as many people who take those pictures, those reference photos where they feel undignified, for everyone who feels undignified doing it, you've got the opposite in like a Jorge Jimenez who takes those reference selfies and looks like a model. How is that fair?
No artist should be that handsome. That's not fair. Like pick a lane. Like you gotta pick a lane. You can't have both. You can't be that good and look that good. Not okay. It's not okay. I spend hours at the gym just trying to be okay, and then he just walks by, and I'm like, "Fuck!" Love him though. I mean, how could you not?
And
how
he's
could you
excellent,
not?
which is further not fair.
It's funny when like there was a couple. I think it was like when he first got. I forget what gig it was, but he started like wearing like Superman shirts, just like, and he posted a couple, and people
Superboy.
were like,
It was the new 52 Superboy.
Okay, and then and people were like, you should just like play him like on a show or something.
Yeah. He's better than Dean Cain. Like get him on a show.
Not as crazy either.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what? I don't think he speaks much English. It doesn't matter. We'll voice it over. It's fine.
Yeah, no one's really listening. They're looking at him.
It's fine. We'll make it work.
Dude, so the Batman is cool in that issue, but I gotta say, what sold me was the Freeze.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that Freeze suit.
What I love about it, because my favorite Mr. Freeze is the Kelly Jones Mr. Freeze.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's so like massive, and he's scary too, because he almost has that RoboCop 2, the cane, where it's not even a full face, it's just the silhouette of a head like within a dome.
The dome just kind of goes into the traps, and it just kind of has that shape. I do love anything that Kelly Jones does. Like I don't care what anybody's opinion is, they can be as critical as they want. I don't care how many ribs Batman has, it looks fucking awesome. Like I don't care. It doesn't matter if his cape can actually do that. It looks fucking rad.
And Kelly has the best reasoning for why his Batman looks the way it does, and it's a reason that I think more illustrators could apply to that, like the way he draws Batman, the way the criminals who have just been frightened by him recall seeing him.
Yes.
And that's just really cool.
It is cool.
And gives you a license to give him as many ribs as you want.
Yeah.
Ribs and abs. I mean, it's like
yeah.
So this Mr. Freeze right here, my favorite, two favorite parts. The suit is hulking and massive and scary. It looks like, what's his name from Resident Evil 2? The dude that breaks through and starts attacking you.
Yeah.
Looks like,
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
and then the silhouette eyes in the head in the mask looks that's a terrifying look.
Yeah.
Because it's just dead. You have no emotion. There's nothing you can go by. It's
Yeah.
just two lights, two illuminated eyes looking at you to come and fucking kill you.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying. So I love that freeze look. It's so cool.
And I didn't want to do much like changing of, because I thought about like maybe playing with the eyes in terms of like just like you do with Spider-Man, giving some expressions, and it didn't fit. It was like, nope, I'm just gonna Mike Mignola it, like this is it. It's black and white and they're circles and that's it. That's what it's going to be all the time. Which I think was a better decision.
So we were just talking right before we started recording that San Diego Comic-Con version. So you saw that as everyone else saw it when it was announced?
Yes. Yeah.
What did you think when you saw that?
I liked it. I was like, that was when I had one of those moments where I was like, oh, a line art version. Oh shit, that's me.
Yeah.
Like I did that. That's me. I'm the line art person.
Yeah.
Like, and that's when I started to think about like, yeah, it's not a Batman black and white statue, but it's pretty close. Like
cool,
it's it made me feel like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's just such a cool looking figure. And then you have the standard. Is that on your shelf behind you?
Yes. Yeah. So I've got all the figures here.
There's the San Diego one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is that the right one?
Cool.
That is.
Yeah.
And that cover that comes with that version is also just a San Diego exclusive. I do have I have it right here. So this is the Philip Tan cover. Which is it's the black and white rare version. And I love this cover. Probably my favorite one. I'm trying to I'm trying not to get the glare on it, but you can see the freeze. Yep, over
How
it.
do we blow him up there, Tom?
Oh, here you just let me see.
I'll try to hold it still here.
There we
without
go.
trying to kick you out.
Yeah.
Very
it's just
cool.
the poses, the Duke Robin and Cassandra Cain Batgirl. It's just great. Well,
yeah, I love how that freezes in the back top corner right there. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Wow,
it's fantastic. Coincidentally, my first the Red Hood and the Outlaw issue that I did was also covered by Philip Tan, so that was very poetic.
That's awesome. How much are these page punchers? Because I feel like these are huge figures.
They are, but I'm pretty sure they're what is it, Robin? Are you selling them at your store 20, 25? They're not expensive.
Yeah, just pretty standard price point.
Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty awesome.
For full articulation with the comic book, I mean at a convention you can drop $25 on a comic book easily just to get it signed, and and with this one you can get a figure with it too. So hopefully people are going to be excited about that in San Diego.
When I heard that we were going to have you on, I started scoping out the Targets in my area. They're all sold out. All the page punchers and the figures, they get sold out by me. And one of the reasons is I live really close to this place. It's like an ongoing convention a couple of times a week called Frankensons.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people who show there, they're hounds at Target and Walmart, and they'll wait for shipments to come in, and they'll buy everything up, and then they'll go take it to their booths. So I'm like, oh, maybe. But every once in a while, I get lucky, and I sneak in, and I find. But it's really hard to come by the page punchers with the figures lately, because the toys are so popular. That's cool. I mean, that's got to be another level too, because some of these books that you're working on with the page puncher stuff could potentially be like a kid's first comic book ever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's your art that they're looking at.
Yeah, and that's another thought that the Stan Lee saying of every comic is somebody's first. You know what I mean? And to think about that with the toys, with the figures. Yeah, I hope it's not just a false hope of thinking like maybe a kid will pick this up, not just have fun with the toys, but look at the comic, carry the comic, put it in their backpack, take it to school, not want to go to bed without that comic and keep getting more. You know, it's that one that'll hook them. You know, whether the story continues or not, whether it's in continuity, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. When we want to talk about new readers and getting new readers, that continuity and all that shit goes out the window. It's are they rereading that one issue that they have, whether they know what happens afterwards or not? Are they carrying it with them all the time? Because that's what we did.
Yeah, and
I know
this
that's what I
isn't
did.
just this isn't just like a hollow comic,
No.
you know, designed to sell the figure. There, you know, there is story to this. Like my favorite aspect of the story, it'll spoil a little bit of it here. When Mr. Freeze gets sent back through time, Nora gets sent back with him.
Yeah.
And all the equipment is damaged. You know, she's frozen and everything, but everything gets damaged. So he is trying with what he can still pull together in this location, trying to keep her alive.
Yes.
So, you know, there are stakes happening, and then it happens that what he is trying to do is having an adverse effect on the area he has arrived in.
Yes, and I really liked that about the story, where Mr. Freeze wasn't also turned into a one-dimensional villain. He still kind of kept that Heart of Ice feel to him, because he's not being bad. He's just trying to save Nora and get home. He just happens to be causing a ice storm, you know, freezing you know, prehistoric villagers at the same time. You know what I mean? So that was really cool. Yeah, and also, you know, there was also an opportunity to do some cool new stuff with representation as well. You know, my Robin in this is Duke Thomas, which is awesome. And Cassandra Cain is Batgirl. It's just fun. It's just great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
As we're talking here, I went on to Amazon. I did not realize that these are also available on Amazon right now.
Yep.
And they got the Freeze, they got the Batman, they got the Robin. Who else do they have over here? They got the whole line available.
Nice.
So if people are having a hard time hunting these down in person, they got them on Amazon, shipped to you Prime today right now.
Yep.
So beautiful. Yeah. I actually just ordered one.
Nice.
Because I want that Freeze right now.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard. Because
cool
I'm gonna open it because I want the Freeze. So, but I also like the look that you have of it in the the presentation of it is amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm gonna get one for now and one for now.
The cover of that one is really cool too. I don't know if I have because that's by Carlos. Is it Donata? He did the
Deanda, Carlos Deanda. Yeah.
And I always think of his work as when I was playing the Arkham game for the first time, the Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
He designed all of them. His art was in
awesome.
the start menu when you like unlocked, you know, information about a character. I fell in love with his stuff.
One of the coolest designs for Killer Croc.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know if you can see
look
it.
at that. Yeah. Look at that. So cool, dude.
And then the comic is in the back. So I'm sure there's links you can see the cover. Yeah, it's pretty beefy. But yeah, I do love that cover. I think so. I had a stock of comps that I was selling at Denver Fan Expo, not last weekend, but the weekend before. So I was selling the toys, but mostly I had my comps and just selling the comics in case people were just interested in picking up the comic. And I sold out of, I always have a struggle with his name. It's Inyuki Lee, who did like the main Batman cover. You know, he's a fantastic cover artist. And it was so cool that we got him to do this one. I sold out of almost my entire stock. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You're planning on being in San Diego. Is that next week already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I assume you're going to be there, Tom?
Yeah. So Travis, I'm going to look forward to coming in and saying hi to you. Where can people find you? Because we're going to try to get this up before San Diego.
So I'm going to announce it. I don't have the specifics yet, but I'm going to be at a game developer's booth. And we're announcing, so you can hear it here first. We're announcing a new DC trading card app game, much like Marvel Snap. It's going to be called DC Dual Force, and I'm doing a mini series comic that's going to go along with the premiere of that app. So I'm going to be signing the cover. They're going to print out some posters of the cover issue #1. So it's all going to be announced at San Diego. So hopefully when people hear this, it'll already be announced. And I'm going to be signing some posters there.
Very,
Very cool.
very awesome. So
I'll be there Thursday and Saturday at that particular booth.
that's awesome. Posters. I'm assuming they'll probably have some kind of like gameplay.
I assume
Presentation.
so.
Yeah. that'd
Yep.
be cool.
I think they will. So pretty excited about it. This has been behind closed doors. I've been teasing it on my Instagram and Twitter. It's been kind of fun seeing like what people have been guessing what I'm doing, because I've posted like some Batman, and then I'll post like a Flash, and then Shazam and Superman, and nobody knows what's going on. I've done a Joker, and people are just like, "What are you working on?" and finally, I get to say it, so that'll be exciting.
Very cool, man. Yeah. Are you going to be down there every day?
Yep. Yes, I will.
geez,
So
okay.
I'm only going to be doing signings for those 2 days. But I will be around. I'll be taking commissions. If anybody wants anything signed, I'll kind of just, I have my social media. You can just DM me. I'll be around.
Yeah,
So.
I'm gonna have to. See, now I'm gonna have to keep that freeze in the box because I'm gonna want your signature on that box.
I did
So,
I did a remark on it in Denver. I did
On
a
the
couple of
figure?
remarks on the figures, like just the box.
That's genius. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Now I got to get
Yeah.
one to open too. So
Yeah. No.
I'm gonna go with that.
I'm not gonna
try to-
begrudge you.
And try to scoop the San Diego one too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That black and white balance.
I think they've been pretty good about limiting a certain amount per day. So
Yeah.
it's all about like what time you get there during the day. Like if you get there early enough, there'll be opportunity to buy the figure. I'm not sure what the price point on the figure is though, but since it's an exclusive, it'll probably be at least like
Yeah.
25 or a little more.
I
But
would
it's-
think so.
It's hard because people always goes for those exclusives, and that's a really cool looking one. So little anxious to see if those will last, but I'm gonna try.
And it'll be interesting to see what effect the actors strike now, because we've already
Yeah.
had the writer strike going on for a couple months,
Mhm.
and now the actors guild, SAG guild, has gone
Yep.
on strike as well.
Yep.
So that means no presence of a lot of these movie and TV things happening at San Diego.
Right.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what effect that has, because I've only done San Diego once, but
Yeah.
it was actors and comedians and stuff everywhere.
Oh man.
Yeah. That's a really good point. When you see the absence of like the lines of Hall H, what is that going to do? Is there going to be more interest in the comics and the creators? Is it going to come back to more of that when people aren't waiting in line to see the new trailer for the new Marvel movie or what have you?
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways it'll be beneficial on the con floor too, because like I remember around the Marvel booth, like there would be points of the day where you couldn't pack, because so like DC and Marvel kind of have their giant booths in the kind of the center of the main room, and there would be periods of the day where you couldn't pass through the center area of the room because like the cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. were doing a signing at the Marvel booth, so it was a sea of people, so you had to go around the perimeter of the room almost to get by that. So if there's none of that going on,
absolutely.
It's almost like it's gonna be like, I don't know what they call them. I think they're called like a comic con. I think that's what it's gonna focus on.
What,
now.
like just comics? That can't be right.
No.
Yeah. Bizarre, but we'll see. Yeah, what I liked is one of the years that I can't remember who it was that pulled out or what the reasoning was. It was post-COVID, so it was money. It's really hard to send multiple people on a payroll. Show out whatever you got going on, pay for hotels and all that as a company. So they're like, we're gonna save a couple $100,000, not do any of that, and we'll do stuff digital. And I remember that specific year, it was crazy because then it felt like Artist Alley then exploded with activity because there's no signings or there's no panels or whatever. So it just felt like for the first time in a long time, Artist Alley turned into this like big place where multiple signings every day for multiple comic artists and writers. And I was looking at the schedule this year and it seems very similar, where it's like every day like some of the artists and writers are doing like Jeff Loeb is doing like 4 signings all weekend, like a signing a day. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
stuff like that where you get an opportunity to, walk up and get something signed, have a talk with them. And that I
You
feel like
don't,
that's what's going to benefit in a way.
yeah. And you don't have to choose between, do I want to see this panel of creators talking, or do I want to get this signed by a different creator, because the times are just not lining up
Yeah.
because they're only doing one of each.
Right.
That's a great option to have. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be, I think, beneficial for the artists and the writers and stuff to get the spotlight back onto it. So
Well, maybe it'll feel a little bit more like how I felt last year at New York. It was my first time in New York Comic Con. I'd never been before. So I went last year. I didn't table. I was just walking around, just, talking to the friends that I've made, kind of networking, just experiencing it. And that felt like what I remembered as a kid as a Comic Con. That was a very creator heavy convention, because those lines that, people were talking about that, line up for Hall H, those lines were for Scott Snyder and Peach Momoko. You know what I mean? Like, these lines were crazy for creators, and that was so cool to see,
yeah.
because I hadn't seen that in San Diego.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
it feels like New York really gives the respect to the artists, because they put them in such a massive artist alley is literally its own thing, separate, and
Yes.
it's massive. And San Diego, they have everybody off to one side. Yeah, exactly.
They just scoot them over in the corner.
You guys go over there, and it's
Comic
and,
people.
Yeah, and you turn around and look, and there's this giant Funko behind you, like staring at you. It's like, okay,
right next to the Dragon Ball Z guy, like about to punch you in the face. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was a weird thing, that seeing how small the artist presence seemed at San Diego, and they were kind of separated too,
Oh, yeah.
part of it was here, and then part of it was a little more over here. And you're on the list also for the Toronto Fan Expo.
I am. Yes.
Have you been to the Toronto one before?
No.
Okay,
So this is my first time in Toronto.
So expect the Toronto show, because I've been to both. Expect the Toronto show to feel like San Diego, just with less famous people walking. It's
Okay.
less on the actors, because so the Toronto show is in 2 buildings. The Toronto Expo Center is two separate buildings, and what they do is, the one building is where they keep all of the celebrity signings and all that stuff. So all the people that are there for that are in a separate building, which really cuts down on congestion.
Yeah.
But then Artist Alley is huge. I haven't been to New York, but Toronto has a far bigger Artist Alley than San Diego.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
One thing you should expect is for people to steal the comps off your table.
Hey, we only have confirmation that happened once.
Okay. And then also, everyone there is going to apologize to you for taking up so much of your time to get your autograph too.
Now,
so you just shattered one stereotype and just solidified another.
Here's this will bridge the 2 of them, because I believe that guy who stole the book did apologize for it.
He did. Ooh, so sorry.
Quick explanation for you, Travis. So this was Fan Expo. I don't know. 5-6 years ago, maybe. So I'm there at the show. It's first or second day of the show, and I get a message from Lieber Mayo. He was at the con that year.
Oh, nice.
And he just asked if I could come by his table when I get a minute. So I make my way over there, and hey, what's up? And he asked if I knew anyone at the show that would be wearing one of our t-shirts, because a guy that was wearing our t-shirt had been to his table, bought a couple prints, and then this was the month before book 1 of Batman Damned came out.
Oh, okay.
So DC had done a thing where they had printed off this galley edition of it and sent it out to some of the shops. So it was the entirety of the first issue of Batman Damned, but all art, 0 text,
no words
in the whole thing. Yeah, so it's a beautiful edition of the book.
Holy
to see.
shit! I would love
So,
to have that.
One of a
So
kind.
Lee had a copy on his table because this was right before the book came out, so he was going to hype it up all weekend. This
Sure.
was the one copy of that he had, so he was going to be showing it to everyone that came by the table.
Sure.
So someone had come along, bought some prints from him, and when they left, he noticed this book was gone too.
Okay.
Fuck. So he messaged me to see if maybe I knew this guy because he was wearing one of our shirts.
Okay. Fair
So
enough.
I was like, well, I don't know anyone who is here wearing one, but I've seen a couple people walking around him, which is awesome. So I told let me go look around because I feel bad. And he said, no, like I don't blame you. This is just someone that happened to be wearing your shirts. They don't think that you have any duty. And this place is here. This is a giant con. There are a million people.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about it. You're not gonna find this guy. I just figured I'd ask, but let me try anyway.
Well, Robin is the
Canadian.
world's greatest detective.
So I thought, well,
for sure.
let's see. So okay, over at the other end of Artist Alley, I know Scott and Greg are doing a signing right now. So the kind of guy that would be wearing one of our shirts is probably the kind of guy that would be going to a Scott and Greg signing.
Look
So
at you and doing detective work.
Yeah, walk the line over there. Like, no, I don't see anyone here wearing one of our shirts. Well, let's go check. That every con has that giant T-shirt tower. So okay, I'll go try the T-shirt thing. There's always a lot of people around that. Head over to that thing, and as I'm approaching it, I see a guy wearing one of our shirts, and then I see that he's got a bag in his hand, and outside of the bag, he's carrying a hard case with a Liber Mayo print in it. So I go up and ask, hey man, I noticed you're wearing our shirt. That's awesome. And
did you steal something?
And I see you've got a Liber Mayo.
Shines the light.
Basically. I see you've got a Liber Mayo print there too. And he goes, yeah. And he opens his bag too and goes, yeah, and I got this too. And that's awesome. But here's the problem. That book wasn't supposed to be taken.
Bad cop comes out, or whatever the equivalent is. Bad Mountie? I don't.
So then I feel like I'm walking this guy to the principal's office, bringing him back to Lee's booth to own up to what happened.
Oh man.
Anyway, that's the story.
Yeah.
Well,
and he did say sorry.
Oh yeah, you did.
He was sorry.
Just get ready, Travis. I mean,
I guess, yeah. I'll have to, maybe Velcro some stuff to the table just in case.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we haven't figured out Velcro yet, so you'll be safe.
My favorite part of that story is that he didn't just give it back to Robin to walk back. He you walked him back to the booth to make him face
walking the mile.
Robin was like Liam Neeson. He's like, I've got a certain set of skills.
Give me a name.
Where's the trigger?
That's funny, man. Jeez.
Well, he's named Robin for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, whenever there's trouble, you can always count on a Robin to help.
Yeah. Did you? And then Lee gave him a beautiful, he gave him a beautiful sketch cover as a thank you.
Yeah, he did a sketch cover for me.
Because that comic, I mean, they don't. That was very limited. The amount they printed. So that thing, if somebody wanted to sell that online, it would go for bonkers.
Yeah,
it was going for bonkers.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny because our shop got a copy of it, which by default I tend to be the one who receives Batman things. Yeah. So I brought it with me, and it was the first copy of that that Lee had ever signed.
Oh man, that's so awesome. I know, when the holidays come around, if I don't know what to give to somebody, if it's a family member or a friend, and I'm like, I don't know what to give, I always give Batman Noel.
Yeah.
Because how could you not like that? You know what I mean? It's a coffee table book. It's beautiful. And it's Christmas themed. Every it's just the perfect gift if you don't know, especially coming from a comic book person. That's my go-to gift.
Yeah. It's genius. Ever since that incident that happened to Robin, anytime I ever see Lee at a con, I just wait by his table and hope someone's going to steal something.
Tom just has to cracking his knuckles and pounding his fist into his hand.
Yeah, and Lee's like, "Are you okay, Matt?" "No, I'm just watching, just making sure everything's good here, man." He's like,
Bat Force security.
Well, no one. You're guaranteeing no one's going to take anything. Tom's kind of an imposing guy. So
yeah, that's true. You might want to hang back and you want to let them take it because then you might get it. You gotta then you'll get some kind of exclusive out of it. You'll get your own cover. You know what I mean?
True. I'm playing it too dumb. I'm too in the face.
I think it was Gramps that said I had given someone $20 to go steal that book off Lee's table, and I said no, I didn't. I gave him a Bat Force shirt.
That's genius.
Oh man,
that's good stuff. Yeah,
I'm pretty excited to see Toronto though. It'll be my first time. I've been to Montreal quite a few times, but yeah, never Toronto. So I'm pretty excited.
Toronto, you get the benefit of people not giving you attitude because you don't speak French.
Yes.
I've been to Montreal too. My French is terrible, and if you go into a Burger King and try to order in English, that they don't like it.
They don't like it.
They'll look at you cross-eyed.
But you know,
low whopper.
and maybe this is the wrong response, but I've never been like a super patriotic guy, but something happens in Montreal to me when they speak to me in French and I get like super American and I'm like, and I'll just like over enunciate everything in English and kind of puff my chest out and I'm like, I'm fucking American. I've never been like that before, but something happens in Montreal.
That is.
I get real USA.
Yeah. That's funny. You're welcome for all the for Hollywood and everything that the industry we provide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what's that like speaking of like how big cons are and everything, how much grandeur, what's that thing that people can stand on, that you can stand on it and it like rolls just from you standing on it?
The Segway?
Yeah, speaking of segues, so you mentioned earlier, you seem to have some knowledge of the game Horizon. So,
yes.
Are you a gamer at all?
Just very casually. I wish that I could play more. I could probably play maybe 1 or 2 games a year for the last couple years.
Yeah.
I did get through maybe a month ago. I got through Gotham Knights. Finally finished that one out. But they keep putting out so much good stuff, and I keep seeing everybody having a good time, and I'm just sitting here, just trying to get a little bit of the splashback from everybody enjoying games. So I used to be a big gamer. Now that I'm a professional comic artist, not so much.
Yeah, like what's the time, right?
Yeah, I just don't have the time, and unfortunately, the same thing with like reading comics. What jumps to the top of my list are my friends' comics. Like, and that's not to say like, there's fantastic all types of comics, the indie comics, and it just seems like whenever one of my friends puts something out, that kind of just jumps to my list. So if I am at a coffee shop and I've warmed up, I've done like a warm up sketch, and I'm like, nope, I'm going to read something first to get me in a good mindset to draw. Usually it'll be one of my friends. So, I'm friends with Sweeney Boo, pretty close with her. So I'm reading her Harley when I can. The new Blue Beetle. I'm friends with the artist. So, it just with such limited time, I have to choose carefully. You know what I mean? And that sucks because I wish that I could read everybody's, because everybody's doing such amazing things. Like I'm so excited to read, Tom King and Daniel Sempre's Wonder Woman. But I know Daniel, I met him at San Diego Comic-Con yesterday, and we became friends. So I definitely want to read that. So that's one that'll jump to the top of the list. But that doesn't mean that what's going on in Detective Comics with Ram V's, is any less important or less good. I just won't get to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And speaking of what you just mentioned, Ram's stuff on Detective, like he's not doing something small. Like what he's been doing on that book is like, I think it's going to be even better in trade because of.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like you're right. Like I fell off on his stuff, and I know it's great. I know it's great, and it's just like fuck. I gotta get back to like jumping back in on it. So yeah, it's for you guys. I mean, like you're living in it, working in it 24/7. It's all around you, and you don't have time for it.
Yeah. It's which sucks. So I feel like it's just an important part of social media for us as comic artists is to just support as many people's books as possible by, liking or sharing or I try to give comments just to say like, hey, I know you are suffering through this book. I see you. I feel it. Awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You see like a page or a panel, and you're like,
just
oh
like a
my
work in
God.
progress, like that's all I need. And I know they're struggling through it, and it's just, you just want to send that positive energy of like, I know what you're going through.
What's, you ever get like stuck on a page or something where you're like, I don't know how to draw this, and you're like kind of stuck? What's a trick that you use to maybe kind of develop how you're going to approach the scene?
Using real life references as much as possible. So I know we joked about how I use myself as a reference, but not just that, using environments. I'll tell a quick little story. When I was doing my Black Adam #1 cover, and it was Shazam versus Black Adam. It was my first official like DC cover. I was having a lot of trouble with the background because Shazam is being smashed into the Rock of Eternity. And I was having trouble with the angle because it's kind of a downward angle of how the cracks were forming. And you think of like, you look at a mirror, it's pretty easy to figure out the cracks, but it works differently when it's stone and concrete, and there's a different texture and there's a different feeling. So I was walking early morning to a coffee shop to try to sketch some stuff out. And
start smashing people's shit, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, there was some thick ice, and I was like, huh. And I looked down and I stomped on it because it was pretty thick. So it gave it that crack, that spider crack, exactly what I was looking for. I angled my phone to the exact angle that I needed to, and I took a picture, and boom, I had a reference that I could use to make a very realistic crack instead of just, that's probably good enough.
Wait, so you were that person on Influencers in the Wild where they're like, look at this crackhead stomping on ice out here. No, that's really cool. That's really cool.
I mean, if I had a drone, I'd probably be flying that to construction sites, taking photos at different weird angles for, for Gotham shots and stuff like that. But when I travel, we talked about Montreal. I took a lot of great shots that I would definitely use for Gotham.
Yeah, if you're in like Old Town Montreal, when you have like the bridges and things like that,
well, it's the cobblestone. It's that European, almost London-y kind of feel mixed with New York. They're like right next to the new buildings, so to me that feels very Gotham.
But then you have to omit all of the strip clubs that have
all
huge
of it.
billboards of naked women outside them.
All of it. Montreal would be very disappointed because they're very proud.
Hey, people got to make a living.
Yep, that's true. No judgment.
Yeah. Some of those girls are just trying to work their way through college.
That's right. Which is a lot cheaper there, though.
They don't have to work as many hours. Good for them.
No, they got free time.
There you go.
And healthcare.
Yes, exactly.
Has it like, so you were mentioning that you got 3D renders of the freeze stuff.
Yes.
And was there a point or a time when, like things like in your career happening where you're like sitting there, you're getting these renderings in, and it's like from Todd McFarlane, and you're like in an email exchange or however they sent it to you, and you're like, all right, so Travis, here's what we're gonna do, and you're like working with Todd McFarlane. Like, what is that like when you're like, I'm fucking exchanging emails with Todd McFarlane on a project that we're working on together?
Well, funnily enough, all all the Todd stuff went through the editor, so I almost got everything secondhand in terms of like if they had any comments or directions, which they really didn't. There was never a criticism. It was always just like love what they just wanted to let you know they love what they've seen. It was like cool. So it was very just general until New York Comic Con of last year, and I just was walking down one of the alleys, and I walked past Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, and Todd had gotten up out of his seat, and he was with a couple of people. I think maybe he was heading to a panel or something. And I just kind of moseyed up to him and I said, Todd. And this woman did not want me to talk to him. I don't know if she was ushering him somewhere else, but she kind of put her hand up, and I said, I just finished some work for you. And then he kind of like put his hand like to her, and he was like, oh, nice to meet you. And I told him what I was working on, and he said, I can't do the voice, but he's like, I'm very proud of those figures. It's going to be awesome. I've seen those pages. They look fantastic.
Oh,
so
very proud of them. Love the figures.
Not to out her, that was probably Shannon that was there, and she has a big job at cons because she tries to manage Todd's time and when he's supposed to get things done and get from here to there, because Todd will give so much of his time to each individual person that it will be impossible to keep on schedule. So she has a huge task.
I could tell, like, she was like, we need to go somewhere now, and I didn't want to keep a lot of his time. It was more of like, this was my one opportunity to meet Todd McFarlane by the opening line of, hey, I just did some work for you. You can't do much better than that. And that was my interaction, and I shook his hand, and he said great work, and that was it. And I'm happy with that. What more could you ask for?
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that lady, what's her name? Robin?
Shannon.
Yeah, she's like, I'm paid by him to get him to stop talking to me. Don't talk to him. It's my job.
Yeah, because if you've seen Todd at cons, and so a few years ago he did a fan expo in Toronto, and so he had a few signings set up during the day. So in the morning he had, he was signing from this time to this time, and then he would have a break, and then afterwards he was coming back and doing a signing with Greg for a while, and then they would leave, and then he would come back, do another sign. Todd spent so much more time than he was supposed to with every single person that was coming up there. He didn't leave the booth the whole day. He stayed there signing and chatting with people. They weren't supposed to be doing pictures, but he was stopping for selfies with everyone.
Wow.
And then end of the day, the con was closed and he was still there, and he said, okay, anyone that wants to do some pictures, line up and we'll do some pictures here. And then he said, okay, all the con volunteers, if you guys want to make a line here for any signings or pictures. So yeah, just stayed after hours after the con.
Wow. I mean,
super cool guy.
Yeah. There's a reason why he's had the career that he's had, and he does what he does. I mean, just the fact that he was like, no, these toys are shit. I'm going to make my own. That blows my mind. And not in a mean way. He's just like, nope, we're going to do it ourselves, and they're going to be awesome. And that's just Todd. Yeah. Todd in a nutshell. Like, nope, we're going to do it ourselves.
Fucking spawn out the ass. We're going for it. Let's
go. Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
It's so wild too. Like when we heard that he was helping to resurrect the DC Direct stuff, and he's doing all the DC stuff. That was wild too. To kind of see him step into that stuff. So it's cool. And now that's like an outlet for people to see your stuff, which is awesome.
And for the price point, I mean, you can't beat it. Yeah, they're not the sideshow level statues, but for $25, I mean, they look fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We have a group chat that people are constantly throwing in his stuff into the group chat to show off and say they're going to get it. And it's funny because one of the most recent things that was tossed in there was your Freeze figure and the Batman figure.
Nice.
So I mean, we're not trying to blow smoke up your butt. Like,
I'll take it.
No, we actually just talked about it on the upcoming Grumps and Gramps episode.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, they do an action figure podcast spin-off, and
well, I really appreciate that, guys. Like, truly, I appreciate it. That makes me so happy. You know, even with social media, you know, with things the way they are, sometimes it's still hard to, even when you make it, it's hard to get your name out there, and it's hard to associate yourself with you know, a title like this. You know what I mean? So I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, for that packaging right there that you got there, does it
Yes.
say anything about like I know that you know your work is in the comic and your name's on the comic, but does it say anything as far as like the figures and that kind of thing with you specifically? Because DC Direct used to do that. I don't know if Todd continued.
They did. Todd's packaging is, I think they just want to keep it real lean and mean. So it's just very simple. And even in the back, it's just very clean and simple. So my name does not appear on the figure. I think you have to actually get into the comic to see that Mercer name. I mean, you might be able to. You can see it a little bit, like through.
Yeah,
That's why you got
you're up there on the.
Because you want the window
corner.
box display. You want the window box display, and then you want to crack it open and play with it in the tub, of course.
Yeah, of course. But to be fair, I mean, Lee Romero did he did one. A Batman, Superman, and Constantine. There was a page puncher book that he did too, and you know, his name wasn't on it. Sean Murphy's name wasn't on his, so you know, I can't really complain because it's not like they're playing favorites or anything like that. It's just, you know, they want to keep their packaging.
We don't have the time. We don't have the space. I'd love to, guys. Trust me. I'd love to put all your names on the fucking box. All right, trust me. But we just, you know, it's a time thing.
I got Ty Cobb's teeth in a box, and they don't have his name on the box.
As long as it's not that baseball.
So I used to love Mr. Freeze specifically. I would take Mr. Freeze, and then I would take a Batman figure, and I would put him in a plastic cup. I would fill that cup with water. I'd put that in the freezer. So then after a couple of hours, I would take out the Batman. He'd be frozen, and I would be Mr. Freeze, freezing Batman, right? So that was my jam to do that.
Yes.
Like, did you find yourself as a kid doing that? Like, which toys, like, what did you gravitate towards? What was
it's funny you say that. I 100% did it, and I might even taken it one step further, where then I would do like hot water, and I'd like half melt it so it like would have the holes and have like a little bit of pointy edges on it just to make it look cooler. See, I was an artist at heart. Like, it always just had to, like, I had to push it even further. Like, I couldn't just leave it as it was.
I need to learn how to draw this stuff so I don't get so wet.
And then he would smash it to get the crack on it.
Because that he's gonna break in the next panel, so I need to figure out those pieces. Otherwise, it's gonna look like rubble, and it's not rubble; it's ice.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, but I was totally that kid. Yeah, you know, just as much as like the figures, I was also the kid in the backyard playing with a stick, 2 sticks if I was Nightwing. You know what I mean? Like, and weirdly enough, this is also one of those like embarrassing reference photos things, but like when I'm reading a script, I'm usually pacing, so I'm like walking around, and I'm a little dyslexic, so I have to read a script 3 to 4 times to get it, and as I'm getting it, I'm seeing it in my head as a movie, and I'm moving my body, and as I start to figure out how it's looking, I will find myself, whether, and I know this from people watching me do this, I'll start to like move my body into positions that I'm thinking about, and trying to think about like, oh, it's going to be like this, or like this, or what if I do this? And I'll start actually posing as it as I'm walking around, so I can feel it in my body, because then it becomes in my muscle memory, because if I can feel it, I'll know how it's going to look a little bit more. And I mean, that's primarily, aside from, you know, Jorge Jimenez fucking everything up, why I go to the gym. It's not just to be healthy and, you know, all of that stuff is true, but it's also because if I can feel it and if I can see it in myself, it's so much easier to draw because I know how things change. Because especially when you're talking about force perspective, and how muscles bend and move, and they're just so much more elastic than you think. Because we think of like the figures, the plastic drawing references, but they articulate, which is great. But when you start to learn how they connect, especially in the ribs and the underarms, like everything stretches in very weird ways. And then if you start angling at the camera, things start to change so much more. And just knowing the body in a more fundamental way really helps with that.
And you can't have your editor asking you, well, but why does Batman have this gut on this picture?
Yeah,
I haven't been able to get to the gym.
I think I've actually said that before. It's like I'm late for the gym. I gotta get there.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I think there is a school of artists now that do kind of take that into consideration. Like I know I've talked a little bit with Sean Murphy about that, and he's like, I have to have a break and do the gym at least once a day. I have to. Not only does it separate me mentally, but it helps me. It helps me visualize things, and I couldn't agree more.
And I like that Sean leans into the that little bit extra of things, and when he wanted to buy himself a cool sword, he said, "Well, I'm going to be drawing a sword in this in Curse of the White Knight, so I need to have a sword."
Yep. Yeah. Let's. Did he buy one or did he have one made?
I think he had it made for.
Yeah.
Not
right. Only did he get the prop, he had one specifically made.
Yeah. Listen, babe, I know it's going to be a lot of money for this custom made, this custom made sword, but trust me, I gotta put it in the comic. Okay, it has to be really authentic.
I could just see Katana just rolling her eyes at that conversation. Like I can actually picture her face doing it.
Him writing it into the story was literally just like, if I write it in the story and I say if it's for work, I can have this sword.
Yes.
Yeah. He just wanted that sword up in his office. For sure.
She probably just wanted another pet, so she's like, "I'll trade you."
Yeah, I feel like they've made a deal like that before, where she's like, she made some sort of deal. Okay, if you're gonna do that, then I get to do this. He's like, all right, fine.
Yeah. And didn't he get a car for leaving Twitter?
Is that what it was?
Yeah. I think that was the thing too.
Something like that. Yeah.
I mean, best decision. I mean, on both sides, like that's a win-win situation, isn't it?
The only thing funnier is if he got what's Elon's car, the Tesla. If you got a Tesla for leaving Twitter, funny.
Well, now you don't need it because you got, what is it, Threads now?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll see. Gosh, it feels like things are shaking up in terms of any kind of social media. I don't know if you guys have noticed it too, but things are definitely changing in terms of what people are engaging with and like what, I don't know. It seems very different from even 5 years ago. It seems very different.
Yeah. You want to sell
changes
comics,
all the
Travis?
time.
You better start shaking your rump on TikTok.
Right? I mean, that's the real reason why I'm going to the gym, is I'm just going to hold the comics now.
Yep. Yeah,
absolutely.
I wonder if there's any comic artists that have blown up on TikTok. Like that's like because
it's a platform that I'm not familiar with, and just because it was video and because comics seem to be more of a static kind of situation, it was always just Instagram and Twitter. But I'm sure comic artists have found a way to maybe doing like small videos of them drawing. I don't know. Yeah, time lapse. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like it's just so wild how you have to figure things out like that now.
But even just thinking about that, like, man, that seems like more work than it's worth, because you have to edit that out and just, I mean, on Instagram you just snap a picture of it or you take a screenshot of what's on your, I don't know, that seems like a lot more work than I'm willing to do, but maybe the younger artists and generation love it. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's one of the things that a lot of the artists that we've talked to have said is that there's just no budget anymore for like marketing and advertising.
No.
And so like these, especially the big two, they expect you to be your own marketing and advertising people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
why aren't you tweeting? Why aren't you posting about this story coming out? Why aren't you? It's like, because I'm buried under deadlines.
Yeah.
I had no idea like that I had to be doing that. It's
Yeah.
like you got to be doing your
Yeah.
social media too on top of it. Like you have to be a social media star in order to still like make progress towards getting your name out
Yeah.
there, which is tough.
Yeah. And just the networking part of it too, for anybody who's looking to get into comics too. It's
True.
not just the talent. It's not just, man, I would love to just stay in my little studio and draw all day, but sometimes that's not the that's not it. Like, you got to get out there. You've got to meet people. You got to be able to talk to people. You got to be able to talk to fans. You got to be able to talk to editors. You got to be able to shake their hands, look in their eyes, and say, "Hey, this is me. This is what I've done." Have a positive attitude. You know what I mean? Charisma goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
aside from having to work it, is there anything that you're excited to check out yourself while you're down there in San Diego?
yes. I mean, for me, it's more of an opportunity to see my bosses and my friends. So there's definitely a work aspect to it that I'm actually very excited about, because most of the editors that I talk to, it's always over email. So it's kind of nice to have that presence in person, like I just talked about. I think it adds a little bit more weight to you when they can look you in the eye and you can talk to them as people instead of just emailing them as editors. And just seeing all the friends, like I can't wait to see Dustin Nguyen again, Tom Taylor, a lot of people that I met for the first time last year that I had an amazing time with, because these are amazing people. And not just because they're talented comic people, which they are, they're just good people. You know what I mean? And that's my favorite part, because it almost feels like summer camp to me, this part of it. It's like, oh, I'm going to go see my friends and we're going to hang out. And it's just a great feeling.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. What say we jump into a lightning round here?
Sure.
Oh,
Gramps.
you're putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you said you're in Denver, right?
Yes.
Do you ski?
I don't.
You don't
I
have time
don't.
to ski?
Not even when I did.
Do you
I
river
don't
raft?
No. I don't like the snow. I do like the water, but I'm more of a beach person.
And
No
his
beaches in
main
Oh.
main outdoor activities include stepping on ice.
Yep.
What was the last concert that you saw at Red Rocks?
Oh man. It had to have been an EDM concert. I don't remember, but it was definitely electronic dance music. I remember
Then you must have had a
the
good
venue.
time. If you don't
I remember the
remember.
venue, and I remember having fun, but I do not remember. It wasn't anybody big.
Okay.
Yep.
Fair. That's
Oh
good
no,
answer.
no, I'm sorry. That Steve Aoki. I think I
that's
saw
huge.
Steve Aoki was there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
huge.
Yeah.
Do you have any pets?
I do. He's not here right now. I have a miniature Alaskan Klekai, so it's like a miniature husky.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I have him. He's actually with the grandparents right now, because I'm
Cool.
getting ready to head out to San Diego soon. So he's staying with them down south in Pueblo, where they've got a lot of land, and he loves it there. But yeah.
Yeah, those are awesome dogs.
Yeah, he's getting older, but he's fantastic. I
Cool.
I love him to death.
Cool. What's your when you're drawing loincloth Batman, what's your favorite go-to snack?
I'm trying to eat more healthy, so I've been doing a lot of mixed berries, strawberries, and blueberries and stuff like that. But if I'm snacking, it's chips. Kettle chips is a weakness of mine.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Hold on, I got a text from the wife.
Oh.
Well,
Keep it down.
If you can't hear, my little guy is back behind me scratching at the door.
Oh.
That's not terrifying at all.
I mean, he's a little French bulldog, and he's like a Velcro dog. I mean,
Yeah.
he has to be beside me all the time. but he hates when I lock him out. So hold on, bro. Sorry.
No, it's good.
And the wife is
I
texting
like it.
me. Anyway,
Louis just has a question. That's why he's
man,
Yeah.
Lou, oh Lou, totally lost my train of thought.
I got a quick one.
Go for it.
All right. I think you said your favorite villain is Scarecrow. Favorite Batman villain is Scarecrow.
Yes, 100%.
Who's your second favorite Batman villain?
I think I was always a Killer Croc fan. Yeah.
It's a good one.
Those were some good animated series episodes, and I think they just kind of stuck with me.
Yeah, he was good on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That show had a big impact of who I liked. Weirdly enough, the Scarecrow episodes are not very good on that show until like the 4th season when they redesign him, like 100, like the full redesign. So I don't know how that ended up being my favorite, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's I think where people kind of, because he's such a visual, the show is so visual in that sense that people kind of pick up on it.
Yeah.
What's your favorite version of him? The look.
Oh, the Fear State. That I know it's hard to like. You always want to go like, oh, the classic version, but that Jorge Hermanas during James's run, oh, that was so cool with the World War I gas mask with the straw hat casting the shadows over it and the goggles. Like, I don't know, that you couldn't get better than that. And they did like the Arkham syringes on it. It was just, it was kind of the best of everything amalgamated into that new design, and I just absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it reminds me of when they did that with Freddy Krueger in one of the nightmares, when he's going after the goth chick, and he's got, instead of the claw hands, it's syringe fingers.
Yep.
I remember that was the most terrifying idea. That like, I remember liking Freddy Krueger, not being too scared, but then I saw that part, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's awesome concept.
It's so cool. And something about like just the silhouette of the spindly, like the arms are very skinny, the legs are very skinny, but he's got like the poncho. It's just, and then just the circle eyes, just like Mr. Freeze. It's that very dynamic kind of like the stare. It's just, I don't know. It's way cool.
So what childhood trauma are you trying to get past with this?
I was a very scared kid. But I think that has a lot to do with what I like, because now I enjoy horror movies and stuff like that because it gets my imagination going, or podcasts. I listen to like scary stories told in the dark and stuff like that. Like those, they have all those like creepypasta stories that people write, and I love drawing to those because it gets my imagination going in a way that's like I'm imagining what they're talking about, but it's allowing me to let go of what I'm doing and just draw. Like it's putting me in a separate creative headspace, and for whatever reason that seems to really help me just not get into my own head, because if I'm drawing without anything on, I'll start to get overly critical, and I'll start redrawing and just not be happy and not move on. So having something like that just allows me to just creatively keep going at a steady pace, if that makes sense.
Cool.
Yeah.
So the creepy stories, like I was very scared of horror stuff when I was little, but for whatever reason now I love it a little bit. To go back to the question, I think it's something about like a roller coaster ride. I love the anxiety before, and then any kind of imagery that is terrifying that sticks with me. It still can scare me, but I love it. So anything like when you think of the Grudge movie, like there is very particular visuals that will stick with you. That were crafted, particularly the way the shadows are casted, the way her hair is going over her face and her eyes are showing, like all of that kind of stuff. The music, all of that, it just adds to mood, which I've learned is just so important in what we do.
Yeah, that Grudge movie stuck with me for a couple of days.
Yeah.
I specifically remember I went and saw it with a friend, and then, went home. And at the time I was living alone in this apartment, and my bed across the bed, I had a large walk-in closet. And the door was open, and I just remember just looking into that dark blackness, and I was like, "Oh, this is not good. I gotta have a light on. This is not good."
Yep, exactly.
Well, what else do we ask in this lightning round? The pizza question?
Yeah, there you go. You gotta do that one.
Oh, okay.
Favorite style of pizza? Do you like the New York, fold pie pizza? Do you like deep dish pizza? Or there's even now a Detroit style pizza, if you've ever had that.
I don't even know if I want to know what that is. It's definitely New York for me.
New York,
100% always the big floppy pieces. Like that's
What's your favorite toppings?
I'm a Hawaiian person.
God.
I do like Canadian bacon and pineapple on it.
Holy shit, we're gonna get hate.
I don't.
We're gonna get us canceled, dude.
Thought we got canceled when Sean was back on.
Yeah, I'm really bringing the heat with my pineapple.
Pineapple
on pizza.
We might have to cut that out, like we cut out the real controversial stuff.
Let me guess, you dip it in ranch too.
Oh.
Only when it's just the crust.
Yeah.
But yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, see, Gramps is from Texas, where they dip their sweet tea in barbecue sauce.
After they deep fry it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions I think I've got. Robin, you got.
And there's the one that I usually like to throw, but he sort of answered it earlier. But if maybe we can see if you've got another one. What was the best piece of advice you've ever received, and who gave it to you?
So definitely what we talked about with Scott McDaniel. I'm trying to think.
I was silently cursing you when you answered that before I asked.
I actually have a good one too. So right after I'd done Red Hood and the Outlaws, kind of during the pandemic, and when I was really struggling and feeling really down because I had lost momentum and I was trying to get gigs, I was talking to Francis Manipul.
Oh yeah.
And I was trying to finish this, and he was giving me some advice on the page, but he said, I want you to listen to this, and I want you to really, really hear it. And he said, remember that done is always better than perfect. And I have that. It's on my computer on the other side of this, so I can't turn around, but I have that on a sticky note, and it's never left my desk because it's so simple but so powerful. Done is always better than perfect.
Yeah.
Get it done. Don't even if it sucks, even if it's not what you want, get it done.
Yeah, Sean said something similar before. He said something along the lines of shoot for 80% rather than, just killing yourself trying to make every page perfect.
Yep, exactly.
Travis, I have kind of I love what you just said right there. I kind of have a similar but kind of different saying that, or quote that someone told me once. And since you like Mr. Or Scarecrow so much, I'm going to give this to you.
Okay.
Everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Oh yeah, I do like that. That's a little bit more poetic too. I like that.
Well, there you go.
Well, if it's worked into a story, do I have to credit you?
He does.
I've always wanted, just a little Easter egg reference. So if you ever
all right,
try a little Easter egg, just draw a little French bulldog in a panel or something.
Gramps, I'll slip you into a crowd holding the bulldog. That's what I'll do.
Thank you.
Just for that.
There it is.
Awesome.
Well, I think that covers everything. Then
Awesome.
we all stopped talking at the same time, which is usually a good sign that we can wrap it up there. But so you're going to be at San Diego,
Yes.
and tell us again where people can find you and on what days.
So I'll be there every day on Thursday and Saturday, I will be at the DC Dual Force booth, the game app booth, and I'll post on my socials where that is. I just don't have that information yet, but I will post it.
Cool. And you're on Instagram as Travesty17. People can go check you out
Yes.
there.
Yep.
You want to spell it properly?
TRAVISTY1017. Or an easy way is just to Google Travis Mercer or Travis Mercer Comics, and it's usually the first thing that comes up.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for listening again. Thank you for being here, Travis.
Thanks so much.
If you're going to San Diego, go pick up that exclusive figure. Read Batman Fighting the Frozen. That was Travis Mercer, and this was Bat Force Radio, and we will see you next time.